And we're back. Sorry, excuse me. So I want to talk about illustrating the in production in the storyboards. What is specific to film is that we're shooting with the camera, and so there are different ways to illustrate camera movement within the storyboards. And here we are on page 39, and sorry, my glasses get in the way sometimes. The most obvious limitation of the storyboard is its inability to show motion, right? A storyboard cannot show motion, not merely action within the frame, but more importantly, movement of the camera. Optical effects like dissolves and fades are also beyond the scope of the illustrator, as are most manipulations of depth, field, and focus. Okay, so that's the limitation of storyboards. We can get close to the director's vision, but it still falls short of the original thing and what video can do. And especially in the sense of what we've mentioned before, where it comes to camera motion or camera movement, you can't show that in a drawing, although we can allude to it. There are visual icons that give us the sense of what a camera movement or camera motion should be in a shot. Okay, and we're going to go on through some of those. I'm talking here, like here's the pan shot right there at the bottom, and that just shows how the camera is going to pan with the action. Okay, a panning and tracking shot. This is simply panning when the camera, how can I describe this? When the camera is looking one way and it just simply rotates to look another way, that's a pan. This is a tilt. This is a pan. Okay. A tracking shot is when the camera is moving left or right, tracking left or right. Okay. So we're showing out how to illustrate these specific shots with these smaller icons. On page 40, the next one would be a zoom in. And this figure right here, you can see the arrow and the other arrow. They're referring to different specific movements that the camera is supposed to take. And that particular one is zoom in. So there are several of these. We have transitions between shots, the crane shot. The crane shot is just simply up and down. The transition between shots we can illustrate right here with this. And this is the bottom of page 43. And here's another one. And this tells us what type of transition. And right here you have a wipe from exterior to day shot to desert day. Okay. Okay. And this is how we are showing the transitions between shots. And you guys can look at this more closely when you get your own books or in your own books. So on page 44 we have a camera whole sort of sequence going on where it starts here, the next shot coming down. So we have a whole sequence of shots from a burning building up on top all the way down. So these are the different ways you guys will need to look at to, you don't have to know these per se by memorization, but you do have to know that there is the limitation to the illustration and its camera movement and wipes between shots. And you need to be able to identify what a wipe between the shots look like. Okay? But the camera movements and what, they're pretty common sense. Okay, so this is just him giving more ideas for how basic storyboards can be and how basic a shot can be illustrated to show motion. Like here we have stick people. And yes, it can be that basic. As a matter of fact, one of our assignments will be for you guys to design some shots using stick people. Okay, so here on top of page 49, we have a series of arrows, and these are just arrows or these are different examples that will be used in storyboards to show various type of camera movements. And what will happen is a storyboard artist will sort of keep those in a file to pull out whenever they need the right one that they want for that specific for a specific camera movement. Another thing that's important in film is perspective. You'll see me do this a lot, like the camera is coming from a certain angle. There's nothing technical with that. This is my own habit of doing that. But when a camera is a certain angle, it gives perspective. As that camera moves, like say upward to a downward angle, it gives it this perspective. As it moves, here's the reverse of that. Right? So we can convey the idea of perspective in drawings by using these sort of block people like this, and these illustrate the perspective of the camera, and that's on page 51. Okay. So all these are the different camera movements here. And then 55, 53, he's just giving storyboards. So when we have these storyboards done and we get on set, it's an interpretation. The final film is an interpretation. The final product is an interpretation of those storyboards. It's a, how do I say it? It's not necessarily shot by shot. Well, in some cases it can be. As mentioned in the book, Alfred Hitchcock, the great director, he rarely looked in the viewfinder once when he was on set, because he knew that it was just a moving representation of what was illustrated in the storyboards. It was a photographic representation of what was drawn in the storyboards, so there was no need to look once he saw the performance. That goes to show you how detailed the storyboards can be and how they can be followed. Let's say, are you confined to the storyboards once you get on set? No, you're not. You can always go off storyboard and shoot something else. It's going to drive your producer crazy, maybe your crew. If you do it off too many times, it's going to cost money. But again, it's just a visual representation of what the director visualizes as far as the flow of the story. And this is also used for scheduling, which is very, very important. Once we have the storyboards and we know the shots, we use those shots for scheduling. We can look at each shot, and the cameraman tells us, okay, for shot one, scene one, it's going to take me 15 minutes to get set up, 20 minutes to get set up. And then for the entire take, I imagine maybe another 15 minutes. So that's 30 minutes. And then breaking down for the next shot. So for shot two, scene one, the cameraman can estimate based off the storyboards that, well, if this one is going to take me 5 minutes to get set up and another 10 minutes of shooting. So they use the storyboards for scheduling in that manner down to the minute, hopefully. And it's all plugged into software. Movie Magic Pro, which is a production software. There's also a app called Shot Lister, and it's pretty robust, and it's on Apple as well as the Android device. If you're looking to get into that phase of production, that's a viable substitute if you don't want to spend the hundreds of dollars on Movie Magic. You can, if you don't have anyone in your crew with Movie Magic Pro, you can use ShotLister, and I think it's last time I saw it was probably like $15. And then you have it $15, and it's available for the year. So I don't get anything that's not my. They don't pay me to plug their software, so there's that. But yes, the storyboards are also used for scheduling, so they can tell exactly how many shots we're supposed to get in one day. How many shots are we going to get done before lunch? How many shots will we get done before we break for dinner? How many shots before we leave for the end of the day? And they can do that day by day by day by day of each day of the production shoot, just based off of the storyboards and those shots. And the unit production manager or the producers have to, the producers use those storyboards as a vital tool for scheduling. Each shot gets a strip, and like they have this, they have a strip board. It's literally a board with a bunch of strips, and so each shot gets a strip, and on this board they can take a strip out, put another strip in its place. They can rearrange them based off of the shot flow that they want to do for that day. So imagine it's just like a big board with one strip, then another strip of magnetic paper or whatever, or I think it's like a magnetic material, and it just sticks to this board. Then another strip and another strip and another strip. They also use that to make what are called dailies. Okay, once they have the schedule done, the producer has to, an associate producer, or usually the office production, they are in charge of getting out what are called the dailies. The sides. And the sides are nothing but little